Thank you very much for all of you joining the session today. Taif Digital Institute have once again brought you a unique course. This is a course launch webinar for KYC, Know Your Customer. I'm sure whoever have joined have a certain idea what is going to be, and those who are new, our hidden gem Fahad Hassan, who will be the trainer for this course, will be coming live with you and explaining you about KYC, sharing his experience and telling you what it's all about and what you're going to learn in this course. MashaAllah, he have 8 years of project management in reputed institute, experience, 7 years of financial economic crime in conventional financial industry experience. He's a member of Associate of Chartered Anti-Money Laundering Specialist, Dutch chapter, and he has trained and supervised junior KYC CDD analysts in different institutions. So I would not let you guys waiting, and I will ask Mr. Fahad to join the session and introduce himself and tell you all about what is there for you in this course.
Thank you for joining, and thank you for the introduction, Brother Hassan. My name is Fahad Hassan. I will explain a little bit about my background and my experience, and then we will discuss about the course content and why it is very important to have this knowledge and experience. First off, my name is Fahad Hassan. I'm located in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and I've been working here for different banks for the past 15 years. Started in project management, and then later years I worked in the financial economic crime subject matters, such as the Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering process for different banks. I've been working in operational but also strategic roles, and have in-depth knowledge and experience in this field, also with providing training and guiding junior KYC analysts. So that is a brief history of my introduction. The banks that I worked for were all international based, so I have a lot of international experience and knowledge in different types of banks. And these banks were also in individuals based, but also corporate customers. So I have also experience with individual customers and corporate customers, because this course is the content is based upon both, but mainly focusing on corporates. But it will teach you on both levels how to understand and perform the tasks with the content from the course. I will share with you some slides where we will discuss about the course content. So the course introduction, this is about KYC, Know Your Customer, from a quality assurance perspective. That means that there is a perspective behind the process, which we will provide more in-depth knowledge and experience, which will provide a quality assurance to that. So what is KYC and why does it matter? KYC, Know Your Customer, is a process usually used in the financial institutions to recognize and understand who their customers are. Basically, as you know, if you go to a bank, you become a customer. The bank asks you questions and wants to know, why do you want to become a customer? And this is very important because in this society that we live in, obviously we have dealings with a lot of international criminals, and we want to combat those criminal activities. And in order to do that, we need to determine who a criminal is and who the normal living individual is, or a corporate. So in financial institutions, it is very important to recognize who their customer is, and that's why they have a process called Know Your Customer. Within this process, you have many steps. We will discuss that later on, but also in depth in the course itself. And that is why it is very important to understand who we're dealing with on a daily basis with customers, not only so individuals, but also companies, so corporates. So one of the main factors of combating money laundering is that on a yearly basis, almost 2 trillion US dollars are flowing through the money laundering cycle. And these can contain different types of criminal activities, such as weapons, selling illegal weapons or drugs, or human trafficking and other criminal activities. But also it includes also terrorism financing for terrorist organizations. And only 1% on a yearly basis of this 2 trillion US dollars is able to be detected by banks and international governments through this Know Your Customer procedure. So as you understand that only 1%, it's basically saying that 99% of this 2 trillion used for the criminal activities is basically still going through the financial institutions of our societies. And that is why you see a lot of countries with high risk and bad economics because of a lot of criminal activities in their countries. And because the financial institutions cannot stop this or detect these criminals from their entering their financial institution, that's why the importance is growing for the Know Your Customer process. And you will see in the upcoming years to go that it will get even more important. So some of the topics that we will discuss in the course itself is about the terms. What are the normal terms used in the Know Your Customer process? Obviously, we will discuss the laws and regulations. So what laws and regulations are connected, aligned with the Know Your Customer process? As you know, it is an international process, so you can use it in every country, and it adheres to international laws and regulations. So it helps also that we have international governments such as the FATF, which stands for Financial Action Task Force. That's an international governmental body that looks into the Know Your Customer process, and they work on that. And when they have better guidelines for all countries, they provide each country with these guidelines. And that helps the country to know how to detect criminals and how to work with the Know Your Customer process. And within those steps, we have different types of tasks that a KYC analyst, a Know Your Customer analyst performs. And this will all be discussed in details in the course itself. Obviously, we will discuss what the consequences are. So we will go through the stages of money laundering and how criminals can launder their money through different types of scenarios. And also we will see that when a bank or a financial institution does not comply, what are the consequences? What are the risks for a financial institution? We have each topic will have case studies, so live examples, and also a questionnaire, which will help you guys to understand and then also to digest the information and understand and to provide the appropriate answers to go further in the modules. And then we will end with a final case study, and that will then provide the whole scope of all the topics in one case study. So what are a couple of trends in this Know Your Customer process and in this Know Your Customer team and the roles that you have. One is that it's not only for banks. So banks can be conventional banks, Islamic banks, but this process, it's not only for banks, it is for every institution, every corporate institution which has customers, which is entering customers in their facility, in their establishment. And this helps all of people that not only want to focus on banks, but also other institutions, such as a cryptocurrency exchange, that will help them with this course to understand how to deal with customers on an international basis, and then apply that in their own sector that they want to work. So if you want to work in a bank, or you want to work at a hospital, or you want to work at a cryptocurrency exchange, whatever your sector may be, you are able to use this knowledge, use this procedure, and then apply it in your own institution. And you will see that basically the digitalization of a lot of companies and a lot of international institutions is helping and growing the KYC analysts to become better data-driven. So what that means is that especially in the Asia Pacific region, the Africa and Middle Eastern region, you see an increase of the awareness of the risk awareness, but also the increase of the usage of KYC analysts. And that means that more and more people are interested in this subject matter, more and more people are getting jobs in this subject matter, because the demand for this subject is getting higher, and that's internationally known. So you see that, and you will see that, and the course helps you to understand what are the basics, but also what are the in-depth for more experienced persons. So the course content and the topics helps beginners that want to just understand what is KYC and how does it apply, but also for people that already have some experience in the KYC that needs to know more details in certain scenarios at their job or at their sector that they're working in, especially in the banking sector. A lot of regulations and laws change on a yearly basis, especially if that bank is also adhering to international laws and regulations. So that means that when a law changes, you need to change and adapt to that law. And that means that your procedure, your know your customer procedure, changes also. So this course will help you to understand what type of changes there can be and how you can adapt to that in your KYC procedure. So as I already mentioned, what does the future of a KYC analyst looks like? It is very, very good starting point when you are a beginner, but also when you're already some experience, you can grow into different roles. So the KYC analyst starts as a junior, and with some knowledge and experience, they become medium or senior analyst, but they can transcend into a team manager or even in specialization, because the know your customer procedure has different segments in the procedure itself where you can specialize, such as if you want to specialize only dealing with customers during onboarding, you can work for that specific part in a bank. Or if you like the part in the KYC procedure where you are screening customers to see whether they're on a list, so a sanctions list, meaning that there's an international or a national list where you have people that are known criminals or that are known terrorists, and they are on a list, and they're sanctioned. So meaning nobody or a lot of corporate institutions do not want to deal with those type of individuals or corporate companies, then you can become a specialist in that specific region. So you will only do screening, sanction screening, and you will only investigate in that part. Or if you want to be more in financial related part of the KYC, that's looking into the transactions. So you look into the transactions and you do the monitoring for that, and you can become from a KYC analyst, you can become a transaction monitoring analyst, and you will look only at transactions. So it is a very broad scope of different specializations, which helps you to gain more knowledge and experience, and also gives you options in different sectors or different regions of the process itself. And eventually you can obviously go into compliance. Compliance means that you have a more of an advising role in how a company can do better in KYC or the anti-money laundering related procedures. And it all starts with the process Know Your Customer. So if you have this course, it will give you good understanding, and then it can help you to get your future roles or future ambition to help you manifest that also. And as you can see in the KYC use cases, it is for a lot of different types of companies that you can use this procedure. So banks, insurance companies, travel industry, healthcare, crypto exchanges, so telecommunication. So these are the sectors that you can work in using this course and this information. Looking at the course itself and the content and the topics, it's based upon my own practical experience. So what I experienced in the years that I've worked in the field, and I've used for case studies related to beginners and related to people that have already some experience, and I use those case studies to put in each topic, which helps you get real scenarios from experience, and then how to apply this in your job, or how to apply this when you're just starting out as a KYC analyst. I will also discuss the red flags in the Know Your Customer and the anti-money laundering procedure. So what to look at, how can you detect a risk, and how can you deal with that risk. So it is based on very practical scenarios. So that helps, because when I started in this field, it was a lot of theoretical training, and which obviously gives you knowledge, which is good. However, if you start working in the role KYC analyst, then different things come into place, such as let's say you're dealing with a customer at a bank, and you need to have a specific document to identify them. Then you know what type of document and how to ask them, and how we can verify that document that indeed this is our customer. All of those were only in theory, but not in practical cases. So in my course, I apply this. So when you go into this role, you exactly know that, okay, the customer needs to provide this type of information, then I need this type of document, and how I can evaluate that document to be correct and to be verified by us. So that helps a lot. I will explain different types of terms. One of that is a risk-based approach, and I will help you guys understand that by obviously explaining what it means, but also how to apply it, and then using a case study. And I think one of the most important points in this whole process is, but besides this process, in almost every thing that you do, is how to communicate. How to communicate with your colleagues, how to communicate with your manager, and that is very important in this procedure, because if you are dealing with a customer and you're applying this procedure, then you're obviously not working all alone. You're also working in a team, and which is then how do you communicate with a colleague on a certain matter, and how do you explain what type of risk that you detected, or if you don't agree what the assessment is from your colleague, then how you can explain that. So those skills will be also discussed in this topic, in this course, and you will hear from me how to deal with those scenarios, and then how to communicate effectively. And most important part is the overall awareness. So the overall awareness means how can we detect how can we detect a customer for being a criminal or being just a normal customer that we want to have in our establishment. So these type of topics will be discussed, and again, it is also for starters, beginners, but also for individuals that already have some experience in the KYC Know Your Customer procedure, and that will then help them to gain more details in how to work in certain scenarios. And the course is a level 1, and going forward, we will also have a level 2. But this is a course that can give you already a lot of tools and a lot of practical answers to apply in your day-to-day job. So this is, in a nutshell, explanation on the course, why it is important, how the trends are changing. Are there any questions or comments? I will stop sharing, and then we can go into any questions and comments.
So yes, brother Fahad, thank you very much for explaining and making us understand the importance of KYC and how and why it is so important. If you take a look at the Q&A section, there is a question there. And then plus we have a raise hand as well. I'll take live question as well. But once you answer the question in the Q&A tab, anybody who wants to ask question can type their question. That'll be easier. Brother Fahad, can you read that?
Yeah, so there's a question from Budiman Indrajaya. Brother Fahad, can you also share in upcoming workshop around recommended fintech platform for electronic KYC and how its technical implementation or its sample? Because I'm here in Indonesia and building securities crowdfunding fintech platform, which very need this integration with electronic KYC platform. This is not a specific topic that I discuss because this is a topic outside the course content, because you're asking me for a fintech platform for electronic KYC and how the technical implementation works. I can definitely try to help you with this, but this is, I think, a question outside the course or the workshop content, I think.
All right. Brother Fahad, we have another question on the Q&A. How do you know a customer, especially an already existing customer, is engaged in money laundering activity? So,
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. So there are different there are different scenarios. One is that if you have an existing customer and you already have some information on them. So that means that you already are detecting them through transaction monitoring. So every customer is being used in the transaction monitoring system at a bank. If they, if they, from a bank perspective, I'm explaining this scenario. And how do you see that if a customer is engaged in money laundering activity, there are specific money laundering scenarios in the transaction monitoring system. So there are indicators. If a certain amount is used, or a certain keyword, or a certain country, then the system will provide an alert, and the transaction monitoring analyst will investigate that alert and see if it's normal behavior or not for this customer. So if it's not, then it will be determined as unusual transaction, and that person will be reported to the financial investigation unit of that country. And that's usually how we detect a existing customer for money laundering activity. All of the banks, especially the banks, already have scenarios in place where whenever a customer hits that scenario, then a alert generates. So it's an automated system that they use. And then the individual, the KYC analyst or the transaction monitoring analyst will investigate that scenario and then determine whether it's normal behavior of that customer or not. So that's how you can know whether a existing customer is engaged in money laundering activity.
All right, thank you. We have Brother Pradeep, who is asking, he's from Nepal, and he's asking that what's the major challenge of implementation and update the KYC, and how to detect financial crime and collect the... That's a long answer, I believe.
Yes.
Question.
Yes.
But yeah, the challenges, you may answer about the challenges.
Yeah. No, but it's a good question, especially about what are the major challenges. The major challenges are the constant changes of international laws and regulations, which means that you have to, like every institution that uses the Know Your Customer process, they need to be continuously changing also, because the laws and regulations change. So that means that you have to, on a yearly basis, you have to perform a yearly risk assessment. That risk assessment will assess what type of money laundering or terrorism financing or other criminal activities are applicable for your bank or for your financial institution. And then what are the current measures that you use, and if they are those measures are working effectively or not. And if you say that, okay, your measures are not working effectively, then you need to obviously change them and have new measures. So that whole process takes a lot of time, a lot of people, and you need to be patient whenever you're working and trying to change and implement these type of changes. So that means that sometimes you have a project where you are implementing new changes. But as you know, that in project management, it's always that projects get delayed by issues. People leave or new people come in, then you have to train them, and then they make maybe mistakes in the beginning. So that all of that are challenges that you usually deal with implementation and update of this Know Your Customer procedure. And about the second question, how to detect financial crimes. Well, as I already mentioned in the previous question, that you have different scenarios in your transaction monitoring tool and in your KYC, your know your customer procedure. And then if a customer, gets hit by that scenario, then there's alert and you investigate. So I think that's the most answer for the last one. And the collect of the evidence. Well, during the onboarding of a customer, again, I'm using the bank as an example, is that when you have a customer that comes into a bank, usually during that onboarding, a customer has to provide identification. So like a copy passport or a driver license or a national identity card. They will then, they meaning bank, will then see if that is the true match with the customer. So they will verify your identification document. If you want a loan at a bank, then you need to provide your salary slip and provide your contract, your job contract, if you're working somewhere else. And then the bank will determine whether that is sufficient to get this loan. So those are all of those are documents and evidence and information that we require from a customer or a new customer or existing customer. I see another question. Yeah, from let me take a look. I see a question from brother Abdul Kabir Sheikh. And he's asking, are developing countries more at risk for money laundering than developed countries? If yes, why so? Okay, that's a very good question. I think so far all of the questions are very good. But yes, developing countries are more at risk for money laundering. And this is basically because of the governments that the developing countries have at this moment, and basically based on corruption and bribery. This is the main issue that happens in more of the developing countries. So it's a issue that's based on resources in money, in people, in time, and how can we utilize these resources. As you can see, most of the countries in Europe, they use those resources very specifically, and the monitoring of using those resources is very strict. So if anything happens, then the government will step in and apply pressure, or apply any assessment that, hey, why is this resource not used more effectively. In the developing countries, you see a lot more prone to corruption. So what happens is that a company wants to have a contract for building of houses, and they bribe someone at the local government, and they make those housings with poor quality material. And then these type of risks, these type of issues, that happens because it's more available in developing countries. And that's why then the KYC is very important, because corruption and also bribery are also able to be detected through the Know Your Customer process. And that's why it's in a growing phase for the Asia Pacific, or the African region, or the Middle Eastern region, because a lot of the past years, it's more focus been in Europe and the United States. And now the focus for Know Your Customer process is also in other countries, other regions. And also a lot of developing countries, they have to now be more strict. So it is getting better, but that is the main reason why at this moment, they are more at risk for money laundering than developed countries, because it's easier to open a bank without telling you who I really am, providing you evidence. It's easier more in the developing countries because they don't ask too many questions, or not the same type of questions that the banks ask in Europe.
All right, thank you very much, Brother Fahad. We have almost reached the end of the session. Welcome, Mr. Zia.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Fahad, for this nice and interesting webinar. And like I can assure you, all the participants, that the course is more interesting, equally interesting and knowledgeable. Inshallah, Brother Fahad is a expert in the subject, and he has put in a lot of time and effort in preparing the course. So I would advise all of you to register and do this course. The link for the course is shared in the chat window. So you can click on the window and then you can register, and you will get the information about it. Besides this course, I would also like to inform all of you once again that TAIF is a registered training partner for IUFI and our examination center. So if you register for IUFI examination through TAIF, you will get a significant fee discount. The current fee discount that we can get you if you register through TAIF is 70% of IUFI's fee, which is of a significant value. So with this, once again, I thank Brother Fahad. Thank you very much once again for your time, and thank you very much all for your participation. It was a nice, interesting discussion, and we look forward to seeing all of you again on the course, and you will also still be able to interact through the portal. It's a self-paced course, but you will have access to ask questions from Brother Fahad. Thank you once again, and this bring this session to an end. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This session is concluded. Thank you.